Hello everyone, Supreme Simp Commander Gláeddyv here, and I have to tell you, we have a simp epidemic on our hands, and it is not good. We need to improve the situation. Now I know what you're going to say. Oh, Haryan, you're saying we need to simp for queens. Yeah, I'll get into it. I'll make my case soon. But first I need to point out the specific problems, because this is really bad for society. So, first things first, what is the issue? The issue is that we've ended up with a society that is full of thoughts, i.e. people like this.
$5 a month! How do you have hours of time to watch me and not $5?
And this.
Alright guys, let's stay focused. We're getting distracted with numbers here. 500 subs. We gotta get to 500 subs. It's the only way I'm committing to a stream schedule. We're at 187.
We are getting women literally begging for money for doing nothing other than streaming games online while they basically have their tits out, or are trying to look cute or whatever. And unfortunately, there is a small subset of men who are enabling this. There are men who have literally spent more on their OnlyFans bill than their rent. He has literally spent more money on women that are never going to interact with him just so he can look at their lewds and nudes than he has spent to live in a house or flat. There are also people who try and get the attention of streamers on Twitch by trying to make a little joke that's not even funny, looking like a pervert, and admitting that they will just drop another 1k next stream. $1,000. I mean, that's just insane. And I mean, here's a final example that you can go through if you want, but honestly, there are so many examples of this. Just watch Paul Joseph Watson's examples in the video he did of simps, and I have to say, everything in that video I 100% agree with. But unfortunately, this type of simping isn't just on the internet. Our own Prince Harry, who left the royal family because of Meghan Markle, he recently sold £50,000 worth of hunting rifles because his wife basically told him to. This is bad simping. Do not do this. This makes you a weak and pathetic man. Now, I know what a lot of you are going to be thinking at this point. Why does it make a difference if we simp for real queens? Well, there are two reasons for this. And the first thing we'll go through is the actual definition of simp. Because I think there is a good definition of simp, and a type of simping that is acceptable for men to do. So, on the screen in front of you are the definitions for simp, and as you will see, there are 4. Now, 3 of these definitions are bad simping, but one of them is actually fairly acceptable. So, type number 1. A man that puts himself in a subservient, submissive position under women in hopes of winning them over, without the female bringing anything to the table. That is bad simping. Do not simp in this way. This is essentially exactly what the people who pay online ethos are doing. Don't do it. It is bad, pathetic and weak. Then we move on to number 2. A man that puts too much value on a female for no reason. Once again, bad version of simping. You need to put value on women where there is good reason to. And we'll get into what a queen is later, because absolutely every queen has value. And men should show that. Now we're going to quickly step over definition 3 to go to definition 4, because it is the last bad version of simping. A square with no game other than rolling out the red carpet for every female. Now, from what I can tell from Urban Dictionary, rolling out means a man who only gets his dick out for every prostitute or hooker. So it basically seems to be a nerd who thinks with his dick. Yes, that is a bad version of simping. Don't do it, pathetic, weak, all that, we all agree. But now we get to the main one, the only good definition of simping. A man that prides himself with chivalry in hopes of getting sexual gratification from women. Good. Chivalry is a good thing. You should be chivalrous to women. Whether that's for sexual gratification or not, that doesn't matter. But if you are doing it for sexual gratification, that is simping. And I'm obviously going to make the case that you should be doing this, but only for queens. And I suppose I should also now get onto the definition of queens. Now, as you saw from the introduction and thumbnail, I had a few women that are example as queens. For example, we had Kate Middleton, aka Her Royal Highness the Duchess of Cambridge. She is just unbelievably wholesome, has 3 kids, is married to the wholesome Prince William, who is a mega chad, and who did the ultimate form of simping, getting down on one knee, opening up a little box with a ring in it for the woman and saying, "Will you marry me?" If that's not the ultimate form of chivalry in hopes of getting sexual gratification, then you've obviously never heard of the honeymoon. But of course we should compare it to Meghan, and luckily there is a meme for that. As you can see, we have the Virgin American Princess versus the Chad English Rose, or as I'm going to rename them, the Thought and the Queen. And this is generally how we tell a queen from a thought. A queen will have a confident smile, she will be top lobster, and she will know how to act like a lady. The thought will essentially be any class below. Poor posture, clumsy holding of flowers in this case, closed mouth smile, someone who's basically just trying to get the attention of men through nothing but their looks. A queen has to act like a lady and prove it. Only then is she worth a man's chivalry. And ultimately, a queen can prove herself in many forms. For instance, we also have the new recently appointed US Press Secretary, Kayleigh McEnany.
And I laid out a series of questions that any good journalist would want to answer about why people were unmasked, and all sorts of questions. And I just wanted to follow up with you guys on that. Did anyone take it upon themselves to pose any questions about Michael Flynn and unmasking the President Obama spokesperson? Oh, not a single journalist has posed that question. Okay.
Flynn's name wasn't
So
matched.
I would like to lay out a series of questions, and perhaps if I write them out in a slide format, maybe we're visual learners, and you guys will follow up with journalistic curiosity. So number 1, why did the Obama administration use opposition research funded by a political organization and filled with foreign dirt to surveil members of the Trump campaign? Number 2, why was Lieutenant General Michael Flynn unmasked? Not by the intel community entirely, but by Obama's chief of staff, by the former Vice President Joe Biden, by Susan Rice, by the Treasury Secretary. I mean, this is extraordinary. And, you know, if it were political appointees in the Trump administration, I can guarantee you I'd have questions in my inbox right now, but apparently Obama's spokesperson does not. Why was Flynn's identity leaked? In a criminal act. It is a criminal act to leak the identity of Michael Flynn to the press, but it happened. Where are the questions to Obama's spokesperson? Because my team would be running around this building should this have happened under the Trump administration. Why did the DOJ, Sally Yates, learn about the unmasking from President Obama? So much for going by the book. As Susan Rice said 3 times, "Thou doth protest too much, Susan Rice." And then finally, question number 5. Why did James Clapper, John Brennan, Samantha Power, and Susan Rice privately admit under oath they had no evidence of collusion while saying the opposite publicly? It's a long weekend. You guys have 3 days to follow up on those questions, and I certainly hope the next time I ask, some hands go up.
I mean, political things aside, that's not what this video is about. She controlled that damn room. She was full, and I mean to the brim, with confidence. She was the lady in the room commanding all damn attention. My God, if you are not trying to be chivalrous for her in hopes of sexual gratification, then you are not a man. I'm just saying, gentlemen, you are welcome for that eye candy. And if you're still not entirely sure what a queen is, let's have a look at either Abigail Shapiro or Lauren Chen. Now, sure, you can make the argument that, oh, they're just chasing online clout in the conservative camps, but I don't think that's the case. These women are both incredibly attractive, incredibly confident. I mean, Abigail Shapiro is literally an opera singer. But most importantly, these two are doing their best to uphold family values and have a conservative mindset, which we bloody need nowadays.
Women, here's a revolutionary idea. Date with a purpose. What purpose? Getting married.
Hello, beautiful ladies, and welcome to today's video, where we're going to be talking about how to dress modestly and still look smoking hot.
If you ask me, she did that pretty well. I mean, these are her examples, and every single one of them makes her look gorgeous. Meaning that she is a queen that it is acceptable to simp for. Now, if you're wondering for specific examples of simping for a queen, my good friend from Twitter, Gammon Easter Worshipper, has a whole thread on examples of simping, both good and bad. And I think it's worth your time to go through it. And I'll go through some quick examples here. His first example is Maria and the captain dancing in The Sound of Music. Now this is an incredibly wholesome scene, and the captain is essentially trying to simp for Maria by being incredibly chivalrous while trying to get sexual gratification. Or, you know, at least to try and win her over. Which, I mean, let's face it, for men, that's exactly the same thing. Another example of good simping that he had was from Ghostbusters, where Peter Venkman insists on going to Dana's house to check for ghost anomalies. And while the scene is incredibly funny, it is also a good example of him trying to win her over by helping her by checking her out. Or as he corrects himself in the film, checks out her apartment. And ultimately, there should be one goal for all this simping. And this is Gamonista Worshipper's example from James Bond on Her Majesty's Secret Service.
You marry me? You mean it? I mean it.
Yes, even James Bond does the ultimate form of chivalry for sexual gratification and asks the Bond girl to marry him. So, I think I've gone through enough examples to make my point. Simping for e-thots and thots in general is a bad thing. Don't emasculate yourself for someone that isn't a real queen. And real queens are the type of woman who is incredibly beautiful, very confident, has conservative values, and aims to start a family. And even when you find yourself a queen, you should only do one type of simping, and that is the chivalric kind of simping. You be the most virtuous and chivalrous man you can be for that queen. She deserves it. And naturally, as seen in the previous examples here, you will end up marrying her, having a family, and having a beautiful life with her. Now ultimately, if you don't want to call it simping because there's too many bad connotations for that, that's fine with me. But as I said, if you're being chivalrous, if you're treating the woman right, and if she is a queen, you are ultimately simping for a queen. And that is the direction we need to go in the Western world if we're going to have many beautiful families and communities. It's also worth pointing out as well that if we simp for queens instead of e-thots, we are going to end up incentivizing women to go towards queenery, which is definitely what we need. We're going to have a big demand for queens, and thots will do their best to try and become queens. It'll be a slow and grueling process, but it'll be worth it in the end when we have women who aren't online begging for money from weak men. Ultimately, we are asking for simps to be stronger, and that is going to take a while and be a very slow process. But the way we do that is by passively shaming them if they give thousands of their hard-earned dollars to thots online, and we instead encourage them to come over to the side of simping for real queens, having them embrace acting like chivalrous and virtuous men, and trying to get the girl for marriage instead of just a quick bang or a casual relationship. You can disagree with me all you want, but you would be wrong. But anyway, that's everything I had for you today. So I do hope very much that you enjoyed this video, and until next time, as usual, goodbye.